Citizen Kane. Since its creation, it's been considered the greatest movie ever made. I always conceded to that fact in previous years and previous viewings of the film. I was fine with letting them keep that. However, I just watched it recently. And now I understand why. It truly is the greatest film ever made. There's not one thing that wasn't completely genius about that film. Whether it's the lighting, the story, the chronology, the special effects, the camera angles, the cinematography, everything was amazing. Orson Welles basically invented 3 or 4 different types of technologies just so he could get the shots that he wanted. There are several scenes where cameras move through solid objects. Before this film, that could never be done. They would cut and then start filming on the other side of that object. But what Orson Welles did is he connected those things to hinges and had them come apart so that the camera could go seamlessly through the solid objects. Which, you know, by today's standard, that's not that big a deal. But whenever none of this stuff is invented and you're just making it up, and I mean, the man had to have his shot or he wouldn't be satisfied. And that shows. And then just the use of lighting in this movie, the difference between light and dark. Oh my gosh. And then the story itself, the story of redemption. And yet, there is no redemption. It's really, what I think it really comes down to is power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. This man who became absolute power, or is given absolute power through his wealth, is no longer capable of being the good person that he might have been if he hadn't been taken away from his home. I can't even say enough good things about the film. And like I said, I've seen it before, and I was fine with them saying it was the best movie ever made, but I didn't really agree with it until this last time I saw it. And I really paid attention. And there's wonderful use of irony, even in the filmmaking, not even within the story itself, but in just the filmmaking. So much is being said without actually being said. There's so much being said that's being said in camera angles and in cinematography. Orson Welles didn't even need to put in story points or plot points. He just needed to put a camera in a certain position, and it told the story. And then the story itself, I mean, I've already said a few things, but it's just this progression. Starts out as a normal child, He's torn away from his parents and sent into the city, given money so that he no longer has a sense of discipline, and he no longer has love. Like, all of his relationships are now tainted with this money. Who really loves him? So the whole movie is then spent searching for this love. And what's truly ironic is, even though he sees that taking him from his home, his rags to riches story, has ruined him, he does it through the movie, through cyclical patterns. He does it to the newspaper company. He takes a failing newspaper company that doesn't want to change. He changes it, turns it into the most wealthy newspaper company in the country, or even in the world. He does the same thing with his second wife. She doesn't want to be a singer, but he turns her into a singer. But what's funny is he superimposes himself on these things. So if people aren't loving the paper, or aren't loving his wife, they aren't loving him. And so everything is a foreshadowing of him. Everything that happens in the story is about him, whether or not it's actually about him. If you haven't seen the movie, you need to see the movie. I really can't explain it to people if they don't know what I'm talking about. But the opening scene on the no trespassing sign, pretty much the only scene that is a shallow focus. Everything else in the film is a very deep focus, which means that basically everything in the movie is in focus, which says a lot, because there's so much going on. There's so much to pay attention to. And there's just one of my favorite lines in the film is whenever he first meets his second wife, she tells him, "I don't know many people," and he tells her, "I know too many people," and then he proceeds to tell her, "I guess we're both pretty lonely." And it says so much about his character. It says so much, because he knows no one just as she does, but yet he knows too many people. And in both instances, he is lonely. He is searching for love. The story is the search for love, the search for the unattainable. He's searching for that thing that he cannot have, because he has pedestaled himself too high above the common man to have what common man has. If you are at all interested in film, you need to see the movie. You not only need to see the movie, you need to own the movie, and you need to study the movie. If you're getting into filmmaking, it's one of several movies that I will say that you need to study. I'm not even gonna go any further than that. I'm done ranting. I just wanted all of you to know that Citizen Kane truly is the greatest film ever made.